It is 6:30, if the meeting will come to order. First order is the additions to the agenda. We have none tonight. The select board minutes for January 3rd of 22. Do I have a motion and a second to review?
I make a motion to accept the agenda, the minutes from the January 3rd board meeting.
Second.
Do we have anything that needs to be changed? Hearing none, I'll call the motion. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The budget for January 18th or 19th,
Pay orders?
the pay orders, right? Currently showing $31,881 and 37 cents. I have no additions to that. Do I have a motion and a second?
I make a motion to approve the pay orders for the amount of $31,881.37 as of January 18th, 2022.
Second.
Do we have anything that needs to be looked at here?
What's the Deanna Hoyle?
So she had two foster kids go to summer rec, and she paid the fee, but the state was supposed to pay. And it's taken me that long to get the money from her.
Oh,
So I'm reimbursing her.
so the state paid for the foster care.
Yeah.
No others? All in favor of accepting the $31,881, 37 cents, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Honorable mentions. Sandra Witherall donated funds to the Sugar Hill Cemetery for the upkeep of the same. Wes and Gail McLeod Ball donated funds to the Conservation Commission. And also Mary Holden donated money to the Town Hall Food Shelf. We thank them very much for their interest. Number 4, Road Commissioner report. Phil.
Well, not a whole lot. As you know, Mother Nature was not kind yesterday. They finally towed one truck today. It went down yesterday. And Pete Turner was over yesterday and today, and Steve also tried to get it going, and that's what kind of put us behind on our plowing. So it's over to Turnage right now. They have no idea why it is not running. They've got the problem solved, but it won't stay running now, so there's another problem. So I think it was Earl's that towed that today. And so I'm not sure what is actually going on with that. I haven't been able to get a hold of Pete. I'm sure he did look at it this afternoon. So we're down a truck right now. He is working on setting up the plow, the 2 frame rails that he bought for the big loader. He is working on setting them up so we can put a plow on that. I talked to him this morning about doing that, getting that working a little more on that. So we'll have an alternate plow rig. The sanding's not quite such a big issue, but having a plow truck down is. Other than that, I think he got his salt in, as far as I know. He got 2 out of the 3. He might have got the other load in the last day or so that he ordered. But other than little maintenance issues, everything's been good down there that I know of. I checked in with him the other day. I haven't been down this week yet. So I don't know what else is going on with other things down there, but I know he had the grader out plowing that yesterday some. But other than that, I don't have anything else on the road commissioner end of it.
Were you able to talk to anybody else on the grader situation?
I called John Deere again tonight and told him hopefully 9 o'clock Friday Friday morning. So the cat, I suppose, is gonna meet me there. The other ones haven't called me back either, so I have to call them again tomorrow, see if I can get ahold of them. I just kind of thought being a slow time of year, they didn't want to get ahold of me, but I called him, I think Wednesday of last week, he just called me back last night. So, John Bader, so. I don't know. Guess not as hungry as I thought they would be. So, I'll know more on Friday, that's all I can do if they show up. It's
You
supposed to
said,
be cold, so.
you said Milton had some suggestions about a lease.
What's that?
Cat had a suggestion about leasing it.
Oh, yeah, he said some towns are leasing them now. What it is there's no down payment when you order it. Sign a piece of paper saying you're taking a grader, and at time of ownership, when you get it, receive it, they will, if you lease from them, depending on how you do it, is the first payment is due out of the 10, and at the end of, if basing it on 10 payments, at the 10th payment, you give them $1 more, and the machine is yours. It's not like a standard lease. That's why I asked about it. I said, I wouldn't think they'd want to lease a piece of equipment that you don't own. He said, no, at the end of the lease, it's just $1 more. And then he gave me the rates for CAT, but he said he'd have more of that information for me on Friday. He also said if you buy it outright, whether you do the financing in-house or whatever, there is no money needed until the payment, first payment, when you pick the machine up. However you do that. That's, you know, if you finance it without being CAT. So, and I don't know what John Deere is gonna do till John Deere shows up. I do know John Deere on most contracting, on smaller stuff, is 5 years, no interest. You make a set down payment of a percentage, and you can go ahead and finance for 5 years for nothing. I don't know if that follows through for towns and bigger pieces of equipment or not.
I think one of the questions the board has, that we haven't really answered or addressed yet, is the subject of a down payment. I don't believe we put anywhere in the budget for a down payment. It sounds to me like what CAT is proposing or is apparently been implementing, that we may well be able to delay a down payment or an initial payment, as it were, until after the question of the funds have been answered in the Australian ballot voting that we're having on March 1st. Certainly, I think that would fit into that 2/3 margin of that apportionment, the way we worded the warning. I don't think that at the moment we need to go into that detail on how much of a payment to put aside. Obviously, I think that CAT gave you a general idea of about somewhere in the field of 300,000 for the overall cost.
Yeah,
Or
you just
greater.
use that for a ballpark figure.
Yeah, hopefully it'll come in under that.
Yeah.
We always hope for that. Hopefully a little bit more information comes out of your meeting on Friday with the different contractors.
Yeah.
I think there was another question too that came up. I don't know whether to take it now or not, but apparently there's an overage. The question's been raised about reducing the paving from the 65,000 down to 22, I believe it is, as there is about a $43,000 amount that's been left over in the budget. I'm not sure how the board feels about that, whether they want to discuss it later at the, when we're going through the final budget, or if we can maybe look at that now real quick. I know, from what I understand, your feeling is you'd like to leave the 65 the way it is.
Well, you had 1 year you didn't use a lot of sand. That's part of that. The gravel budget, part of it is not having a driver to haul it. I highly recommend, because the material cost has already gone up roughly $2 a ton across the board for everything, that you are gonna need every penny you have in your gravel budget, sand budget, if you have a rough year. Taking that $43,000 off the paving, the few pennies it's gonna cost the town people, and it's just, it's gonna be a mistake, because you've gotta deal with the rest of the balance of what you need on the roads that you didn't get done last year. You know, it's just not, as far as I'm concerned, it's up to the board. It's, you know, what they think, but it's, you're gonna utilize all your materials this year, and then some. The paving budget should be over 100,000 to keep up with what we have for road damage every year. We're losing ground every year, badly. You know, it's not, the 50,000 isn't even a dent in the bucket for what we need. The net, if you ask any paving contractor, you just look at the roads in town. You know, 50,000 is not gonna get you much this year because of the cost of what it's gonna be. And pulling it out of the gravel budget, sand budget that you might have to have anyways by the end of the fall, really is probably not a good idea. That's not my call, it's my suggestion.
Anybody else got any feelings on this?
Well, I know that last year we talked about that we were always behind the 8 ball for years with the paving, and last year tried to catch up a bit when we put in like 65. But shorting it, I think when everything is, shorting it by a penny or something like that might be penny wise and pound foolish.
I think in the statement of the proposed budget, they've projected it by lowering the 43,000 to 22. From my understanding, Jill, you can correct me on this, by taking the 43 out and using the surplus in that, it would still give us 65,000 roughly to work with in paving.
Yeah.
But it would actually, at this point, we would actually be going down just a hair in the overall budget. Am I correct in that, or?
Yes. But that's based on the current grant list. We don't know what next year's will be, or what 22's will be, but yes.
So then you're taking it away from the gravel budget, which didn't get put down last year because of unforeseen issues. Which I think everybody knows how bad the dirt roads are.
You're gonna stay around, are you, Phil?
Yes, I am.
Okay. We're all aware of it now, if anybody hadn't been aware of it. And we are going to finalize the budget tonight. I think we can probably, everybody think about it for a few minutes here. Anything else you'd like to?
No, I think I'm all set.
Everything's set with Van Wyck?
What's left on it? I guess that's up to the board, what's left on it.
I mean, you've got your permit. I mean,
Yeah.
Amy was anxious to get the logging operation
Yeah.
going.
So I guess, I don't know what, I presume they based it on what the state said. in an email or in? Yeah, I read that in email.
I emailed Ann, I emailed you, Nelson signed the permit.
Is this the one I gave Nelson? Yeah, this is the posting that Nelson didn't get the first time. I gave him my copy and stuff, yeah. So you're going by operating weight, I presume. Am I right on this? This is just what I want, because they have inventory, posting, and operating weight. We know the posting is not that. Operating weight is what's, I presume, is on the bridge at one point, at one time, am I right? Do anybody read, maybe Bruce knows this, something, or I do.
That's what I went by, that was why I adjusted it 50,000. Obviously, a loaded, straight truck with triaxle would probably grow 65,000 total.
Yes, but it's not on the
If only the 3 axles are on there at one time,
Yes.
that would be a loading of about 50,000, assuming approximately 20,000 on the front axle.
Correct, yeah, that's,
Yeah, that's what I wrote on the permit there.
okay.
You have a copy of the signed permit.
No,
Okay, I mailed it to you and emailed it.
well, like I said, I didn't know.
Maybe it's in one of those.
All of this
envelopes.
mail today that came, that was mailed on the 12th, I got it this morning. So if we'd had our meeting yesterday, I wouldn't have had any of it. I just got this today. That's, some of my mail I don't get, I don't know why. And my emails, I think I opened that in an email.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I opened it in
You
an
have a
email.
copy of this. Nelson signed the.
Yeah, I got the part where he signed it and stuff in an email. So long as everybody's okay with what's the weight rating here on this sheet, that's all I'm asking.
Well, he signed it at 50,000. The permit, Nelson signs for 50,000 max.
On the 4-axle, what about truck and trailer?
As long as you keep that third and the 3 axles to that 50,000, so that's all it's on there at one time.
Okay, yes.
I'm not writing it for 72,000.
No, you're writing it for weight on the bridge.
Weight on the bridge.
Okay, that's fine. No, that's fine. I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page, that's all.
State Agency of Transportation's mileage certificate. Sandy, I'm assuming we just sign off on this?
Yeah, I don't think there's any other,
Nothing's been added, so we know,
no.
just that.
The only thing we've changed was Rogers Farm Road.
Right.
But that doesn't change the mileage.
It doesn't change the mileage?
Right.
I was wondering.
The mileage is the same, it's just the road names and the state 911 system and all, everyone has been notified, so.
Okay.
So I guess we're all in approval on that.
Okay.
Public commentary.
The public,
There's a petition for the town of Wallingford with enough signatures on it. I received it Thursday by the deadline.
oh, is that the top one?
And they do have the 5%. Okay. Does anybody need to?
That's,
Petition legal voters of Wallingford, Vermont District to the Select Board. We, the undersigned legal voters of Wallingford, Vermont, hereby petition the Select Board to add the following articles to the warning for the Town of Wallingford annual meeting to be held on March 1, 2022. Shall the Town of Wallingford, Vermont allow the establishment of retail sales of cannabis within the town? I believe that's the whole statement. Added to the warning.
It's gotta be.
Okay.
It's gotta be.
Do we have any other public comment? Review of our proposed budget for 22-23. You're all obviously aware of the line item 5325 paving. The change has been made from 65 to 22,000.
Only you decide, I just gave you, yeah, in your packets, in your packet was keeping paving at 65, and then I gave you a draft copy if you reduced it.
You'll also note the current property taxes, line item 4523, was also changed from our proposed original budget. It's currently 944,037 and 6 cents. That has been decreased.
Nelson, do you mean instead the 987.37 has been
Which-
decreased to 944.37?
Which one?
That right now, that if the paving is reduced to 22,000, the amount decreases to 944.37.
Yeah, it's
6
25,
cents.
23.
And that right now, currently,
That's
it's
current,
proposed
the
at
9.
987.37.
Right,
Correct?
correct. I guess we're back to the question on the 22,000. What's everybody's feeling? Do you want to lower to the 22,000 or do you want to remain at 65?
If we lowered it to the 22, how much do we actually have in that line item?
Well, the proposal was 65,000, what we wanted to spend, but that would be using 43,000 with that 22
Okay.
to still do 65,000.
So there's a remaining balance of 43, and that's why it was lowered to 22.
That's why
It would
we
still
could
give
lower it.
65,000.
Phil's idea is to leave it at 65,
Because we're taking
and
it
then
from
we'd
the,
have the 43,000.
because
Sand,
that 40,
leftover sand and gravel budget was not spent
Gotcha.
last year for
Okay.
multiple reasons.
now, okay, thank you for the clarification.
Julie, does that 43,000 have to be put in there, or can it be carried over without actually assigning it to another line item?
It can be carried over, but it can only be spent on highway. It can only be spent on highway.
It can only be spent on.
If you have a surplus, you carry it over the next year, but it can only be spent for highway.
Theoretically, we spend 80,000 on paving next year, use up 20,000 of that surplus.
It was just a suggestion.
Yep. The carryover is on line 5344. If you look at your highway budget, 5344. That's where it is. We see that, you can see the number there, 43.
Right.
What's the tax rate this year?
Normally, I think, Phil, you're well aware that I would try and keep as much money to sand, gravel, paving, anything that I can, because we are so far behind with everything. I almost think that this year, with a lot of the things that we've had to increase, and I'm sure if we leave this at 65,000, that's going to be reflected in what we wind up with for an actual change to to the proposed tax rates. Keeping this total cost at 65, using the 43, would actually make this budget hopefully just a hair under what we've been, which I think considering the sum of the increases, the 30% in most of the highway, would be basically a well pulled off thing that we've done. Personally, I'd like to go along with the 22,000.
That's your choice up there. I think it's a mistake, but it's up to you. I'm just making my suggestion of what's could possibly you have an overrun on stuff this year. Then we're gonna be trying to pull it out of somewhere. Leave that overdraft, let it sit idle for a year, and see if we have a bad year.
What's everybody's general idea?
I just wondered, I mean, for that budget, in this proposed budget, we've increased sand and gravel and the salt by like $23,000. You don't think that would cover the increases? I mean, that was the whole point of increasing those items.
We can't predict Mother Nature, Bruce, we know that.
The sand, we only went up 1,000.
I get, my other question, Julie, what was the tax rate from last year? I mean, are we proposing a big tax increase or not?
So the current rate is this year's is 0.3936.
And what will it be as it stood, what we passed?
0.4038, so a penny.
1 penny.
Yeah.
I would have expected it to be worse.
Wow.
We're talking about.
But that's based on the current rate.
Right, but it's still,
Yeah.
it's a penny a hundred, right?
Huh.
And if we don't, it would be a half a cent, right? Less. Is that what I'm reading here when it said, then it would be 38.62 if you,
Right. It goes from 39.36 to 38.62. If the paving is reduced to 22.
it would go less than,
If we reduce the paving from 65 to 22,
then next year's
then the
tax rate would be less than this year's?
Estimated.
Yeah, based on the current rate.
Yeah, but still, I mean,
Yeah.
with
Hello?
everything increased.
Hi, this is Candy.
Hi, Candy, we're down to number 7, we'll be just a couple of minutes yet.
Oh, okay, no problem. I just figured I'd pop in now.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I have another item I'd like to bring up that might impact people's thoughts on this, but at the last meeting, Rose mentioned she thought that we, as board members, deserved a raise this year. I know we just kind of flew by it at the last meeting, but afterwards, I did a little research about what select board members around the area are getting. And with the exception of Shrewsbury, every other board around the area gets anywhere from $800 to $2,000 more on their members every year. Maybe we ought to give ourselves a little bit of a raise. I don't know how everybody else feels.
Well, I was
but
thinking about that too, because you're sitting there and saying like a dog warden or somebody, you know, and we're talking about $500 or something like that, but you're talking about all the select board stuff for twice that much. I mean, it's really not anything you're getting rich on.
No, I mean, nobody gets in it to get rich, but
Right.
at the same time,
It's,
we proceeded to give everybody raises.
Yep.
Nelson compared everybody's salary in the area. Maybe, I think we should have took a look at the select board salaries too, for stipends, whatever.
So we're all in favor of going with 22?
Huh?
Talking about,
Pardon?
Nelson's still talking about should we make a decision on that first and then talk about this next item?
Okay, just,
Okay. Clear the deck on the 22 first.
okay.
Yeah. What do you think? Do we keep it where it is for a figure? Do we lower it and decrease the tax rate? What do people think? Is it being a penny wise and a pound foolish? What do we think?
I mean, I'm torn either way. I mean, we increased both of those line items substantially. So,
I hear what you're saying on that.
I
If we
mean,
keep it as is, it's about a penny increase and with a little bit of maybe rainy day, but then if we take it out, we might still be covered and we've actually decreased the tax rate. So I think that's what we're looking at.
I mean, if you get a bad year, you can justify that you had a deficit at the end of the year.
Yeah. And as you said, Bruce, we are increasing the gravel budget by a good amount. And by taking that money, we actually have the 65 that we're planning on having in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I'm torn either way, but I think ultimately I'm in favor of reducing it to 22. Use the carryover. Does anybody else feel?
I can see the 22 as well.
Keeps the 22.
But I'd like to know, Pat, what do you think?
I just hate to, I just hate to be shorted if we've got a bad year, but it's from our lips to God's ears,
Are there any other line items that anybody has questions about or wants to look at something different? Or is just this one line item left?
Well, I think
Well, I just,
there's a question about the select board salaries that we're actually under, most of the surrounding towns, the amount that the select board gets as a stipend is less than the majority of other towns around. And do we want to see any increase in that?
What's the general feeling on that? I'm aware that we are getting less than a few of the boards are. When I came on the board, it was $800 stipend. And I think it was 4 years ago, possibly 5, when I became chair, that I made it, we raised it to 1,000. And I kept the chair at 1,100. We only raised the 4 800s at that time. I kind of try to stay away from that select board stipend. As you all know, normally I contribute mine back to something here in the village. So I think that really should be up to the three of you and Rose, what you want to do with that one.
I think we deserve a raise after the last couple of years.
I know it's hard to sit here and decide what you're going to.
Yeah, it is a difficult thing to decide on.
According to the survey, is that what you looked at there?
Yeah, well, I just got online at the different town websites and around the area. I mean, Shrewsbury still does $1,000 a year, but like Proctor, they're, I think it was 2,000 or 2,500. Rutland Town is
25,000.
25,000. Their entire
Yeah.
their entire board.
25,000?
Yeah,
Like a piece?
no,
Oh,
that's their budget line.
Oh, okay.
Clarendon, I should have wrote this stuff down, so I may not be remembering it correctly, but I think Clarendon was like $1,800 a
Clarendon
person.
is 1,600.
16, okay.
Yeah. Maybe it was $1,800 their chair guy, I forget.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I would propose we bump it up to $1,500 or something. I don't know how anybody else feels.
I'm pretty new. I would kind of bend on the experience of the more experienced board members. The last time we received a raise was how many years ago?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's never been, well, I've been on the board.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
You said how much? 2,000?
I was saying $1,500.
1,500.
15? I can't hear you.
Yeah.
1,500.
16?
15.
15. If somebody wants to make a motion,
And then does Nelson's amount go up as well?
Yeah, I would say.
it'd probably be the same as everybody at that point.
Would that be,
Make it 1,600.
I was thinking maybe that. If
Yeah,
we-
15, that's
Oh,
fine.
making the chair position 16.
We understand you're gonna give it back anyway, Nelson,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, gives you more to give back.
Yeah, but
it just gives you more.
15 is fine. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we increase the select board stipend to $1,500 and to $1,600 for the chair.
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
7,600 there.
And we did come to a decision that it's going to be 22 for the
22.
paving, right?
Okay. Okay, I guess that pretty much makes the budget complete if we're all in agreement. Do I have a motion, a second to
We decided
approve?
on the paving?
Yeah.
22.
22.
Keep it at 22?
Do we have a motion, a second to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Julie will give us the bottom line in a second, I think that she's working on it.
Okay.
Ooh, she's getting those keys.
Second? Has it already been seconded? Lucy's, okay.
And she'll give you the number you've been putting on.
Okay.
Do we get a second?
I think we're waiting for the number.
Or-
It's $2,600 over.
$2,500 more, right?
2,600.
26 for the,
Chair, 16.
Right, 50, 7,600. already at 5,100, so that's 2,500. They're all getting 500 more, right?
That's not for the chair.
No, it's all 500
This
more.
is already included. So
Yeah.
5,100
Yep.
now.
Oh,
He gets 1,100
Yes.
now.
Oh, okay. yeah,
See?
Yeah.
so it's 2 grand more.
It all increased by 500.
2,500.
Yes.
Okay, 2,500.
Okay, so
Yeah,
it's 2,500 more property taxes.
Right. That would bring it to,
946.
current property taxes would be raised 946, 537.06. For a total budget of 1,343,279.05. I'm sorry, I had to get to the right one.
Thank you, Bill. Good night.
1,300,279.05.
Can you say that amount one more time, Julie?
1300279.
Oh,
05.
27905.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we're not doing salt shed, right?
No, we didn't put anything in for the salt shed.
So I make a motion that we approve the budget of 1,300,000, 279.05, with 946, 937.06 to be raised by taxes.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So it's $1,300,279.05 for the budget and 946, 937 or 537? 537.
537.
537.06, okay. I thought somebody said 937. Got it.
Town meeting warning.
Here you go, Tammy.
Yeah,
Good evening, Tammy.
good.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. I assume you've got a copy of the warning.
Yes. Yep, Sandy sent it to me. I have it.
Okay. The question came up when Sandy and I were talking about all the problems with COVID. I think that we had originally decided that we would have the meeting at the elementary school, and it would be in person. I've been reading in the Rutland Herald that a number of towns have gone back to Zoom and meetings as they were held last year. From what I've read in the emails and stuff back and forth with Sandy, your mind that you'd like to have it the way it was last year as these, the phone-in type. Am I correct in that?
Yes, my recommendation would be to keep it remote just because of the uncertainty of what's going to happen. And just in trying to keep everyone safe. it seems that that would be a prudent thing, since everything's going to be voted on by Australian ballot, as opposed to trying to move the meeting and/or holding it in person and then having to adjourn it. It seems like the most prudent thing to do under the circumstances right now.
I believe Sandy has already made contact to arrange for the necessary information for the phone-in contact. So I'm sure that can be changed on the warning itself. Is there anything on the warning that you think needs to be addressed or changed, or that you have questions on?
No, I had met with Sandy and Pat and Kathy to discuss the article with regard to the Revenue Augmentation Trust, and I just felt that putting in the amount, when there was someone who raised a question about an amount not to exceed or to give some sort of a dollar amount, and in discussing it with them, it was apparent that we don't know a year from now or more than a year from now what that balance could be, and it fluctuates. So to give a not to exceed or no less than could put the town in an awkward situation, because what happens if that fund lost money or gained more money than the 2/3 that you anticipated to move? So I just thought, in full transparency, just adding that last sentence so that anyone who read that understood the amounts of money you were talking about in general. So other than that, everything else looked good, and she had sent me that last Article 10 based on the petition that was received about the retail cannabis sale. And if that's what the petition, stated as the question, then that seems just fine to me.
All right. Is there anybody on the board that has further questions? I'm assuming that Sandy will come up with the change to the way the meeting is going to be held. It's going to be called in the call-in information. That'll probably be the same as it was last year. If nobody has any other further questions on it.
I guess my only question is that if we do a remote meeting, does the select board have to be here to be part of the meeting? Can we call in from our own computer to be part of the meeting?
The way we did it last year was the 5 of us met right here at Town Hall because we used the stage up here and we did it remotely.
I know
That's what we
sometimes
plan on.
with the echo in this room, it can be difficult to hear what's being said. I don't know if we want to consider.
That's why we did it on the stage. We closed the curtains, it absorbs the echo.
Okay. And did that work fine last year?
It seemed
There were
to.
no complaints? Okay. Then I would think that would be fine as long as we're controlling that volume so that people can understand.
And I don't recall if there was any issue with echo last year, Nelson. I think that it all turned out, because I was on my computer from home, and I don't think that there was any issue with echoes that I recall.
No.
Thank you. Sounds good.
Okay, if everybody's good with this, do we have a motion and a second?
I make a motion to accept the warning of the Town of Wallingford Annual Town Meeting on March 1st, 2022.
Is that all? Okay, I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
That's with the change in that top paragraph.
Yeah, the change in the top paragraph. Sorry.
Remote meeting.
Thank you, Tammy.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else need me for anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay, great. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
You too.
Thank you.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye-bye.
Do you notice the Kate Warner?
She's here in person.
That's her? Okay. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with you.
And Will Dwayne from Vermont Fish and Wildlife is going to be calling in on the conference line.
Okay.
So I just told him to call right now, so should be calling in. My name's Kate Warner from the Trust for Public Land. We're a national nonprofit conservation organization, and we're working with the state, the Department of Fish and Wildlife, to potentially acquire 347 acres in between Hartsboro Road and Route 7. About 100 of these acres are in the floodplain around the Otter Creek, and the property includes 1.7 miles of frontage on the Otter Creek, and then the rest is some, oh, there's Will.
Hello.
Hi, good evening. This is Will Wayne from the Department of Fish and Wildlife.
Thank you.
Good evening. Your mate here was just getting to this presentation.
Well, thanks so much for the opportunity to join you folks on the telephone. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person tonight. We've got young kids who are trying to keep in school as much as possible, so any non-urgent trips are out of the question, I think, for the week. But thank you so much.
Great. Just a minute here. Kate had started a presentation. That way you'll be able to hear her also. Go ahead, Kate.
Sure. So the property currently is owned by Tim Bird, and he's going to be retaining 50 acres and his house on the east side of Hartsboro Road. And then the other parcel is owned by Richard and Susan Korchek, who live on the west side of Route 7, and they are going to continue to retain 88 acres of their property and continue to own their house also. And then there's also an additional 35 acres adjacent to the Bird parcel that is owned by Fernfield Farms, and they're planning on doing a boundary line adjustment with Bird to add that to Bird's land before he conveys it to the state. So I believe you have maps that were sent out. Yep, so you can see kind of almost a third of the property is all covered with wetlands. Some of that area has been kind of degraded wetlands, so part of the purpose of the permanent conservation and acquisition of this property is to help those wetlands revert to natural wetlands and help increase their purpose of flood retention. So the state, you probably know the state of Vermont has been working very hard the last 2 decades to try to decrease floods and increase wetland protection and increase water quality in Lake Champlain. So this is important both to the state of Vermont and I believe to the citizens of Wallingford, as restoration of these wetlands and protection of the river corridor and prevention of any kind of new structures or buildings being anywhere near the river corridor will help protect Wallingford Village downstream from, or help ameliorate the effects of flooding for future storms. So we're here tonight to answer any of your questions and also ideally to ask for your support as this project will be going before the Vermont Housing Conservation Board for some partial funding in March, and the VHCB likes to understand how the town select board feels about any acquisitions by the state, as does Governor Scott. So Will can talk about the future management as an expansion of Otter Creek Wildlife Management Area, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Will, can you talk a little bit about how Fish and Wildlife manages your properties?
Did you hear her, Will? Will?
Can you both hear me?
Yes.
Oh, we can hear you. Did you catch Kate's delivery?
I did. I think it was a bit of an echo in there, but I think Kate was asking me to speak to some of the department's strategies and plans for management of the property. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. So the Department of Fish and Wildlife currently owns property just to the south of you folks in Mount Tabor and Danby that currently constitutes the Otter Creek Wildlife Management Area. If you look on it on a map, it follows Route 7 and the creek, mostly straight north and south. The department's really excited about the opportunity to add more public access for wildlife habitat and the conservation of wildlife habitat, and then also public access for the people of the state and specifically the people of your town. The department's wildlife management for properties does include some active management where appropriate. As Kate had discussed in her letter to the town, we see that as potentially some active logging to help with the current hemlock stands that are currently on site, but mostly it's management for the purpose of allowing for that wildlife habitat and human access to coexist. We, unlike our good partners in the Department of Forest, Parks, and Recreation, we won't be adding major trails or doing any major road work in the area, but where there are roads and trails, we would look to maintain those and keep them as is. The department would plan to perhaps add a small parking area as well as an information kiosk. But our management plans are mostly to let the property sort of work as is, and wherever might be necessary to do management to revert back to their natural state, but just to keep it intact and in trust for the animals and for the people of the community.
So we met with the Conservation Commission at their December meeting, and they gave their full unanimous support, and they have a support letter that we shared with the town. And we also included a letter from the state of Vermont about the municipal taxes. So a couple years ago, they changed the way that the payment in lieu of taxes from the state is calculated for new acquisitions by the state. I'm not going to go into how they used to do it, but it was very complicated, and sometimes towns were upset that they would be losing municipal taxes. So all new acquisitions, the state payment in lieu of taxes increases to the town by the same municipal tax rate that the landowner had been paying. So as the letter describes, you'll be paid by the state at the same tax amount for that forest land that the private landowner had been paying. So you won't have any negative effect on your municipal taxes. And in fact, we had some correspondence with your lister, your assessor, John Tiffany, and he kind of looked at what the estimated assessment of the retained parcels would be. So he looked at kind of how much the assessment of what Bird is going to continue to own and what Korchak is going to continue to own. And then we looked at kind of what the state is paying you for the payment in lieu of taxes, and you're actually going to be getting a little bit more when you add those two up. So I'm happy to share those numbers with you if you're interested. Or if you have any other questions about the taxes.
Thank you.
Sure.
I don't want to just, okay.
Deb, did you come here to enter something?
I just came here to support, I don't need to add anything to it, but just come here in support of the Conservation Commission.
I think somewhere in the bulletin we had received that the Conservation Commission, it may have been in your minutes, that you had voted to support it. So basically what you just like is a letter of support from us.
Yes, sir. And if it helps, I'm happy to create kind of a really rough draft that you can edit at will, if that is useful.
Yes.
Could I add a little aside?
Sure.
'Cause when we were at, we were meeting with Kate at our Conservation Commission meeting, one of the things we also asked about, and I think you should bring it up now, is what kind of human activities, like people in Wallingford, what could we do on that property, since it wouldn't be private land?
Yeah, so right now the bird property is not posted, but they are planning on selling it if this conservation outcome doesn't happen. And it's very possible that a future landowner could or would post it. I guess it is quite popular right now with hunters. They hunt for turkey and deer and sometimes even bear there. And there's also good fishing along the frontage of the Otter Creek. There's brown trout, brook trout, there might be rainbow trout, I'm not sure. So under ownership by Vermont Fish and Wildlife, it's completely open to the public for pedestrian recreation. There will be no ATVs, but it will be open for hunting, fishing, trapping, walking your dog, hiking, snowshoeing, backcountry skiing, paddling on the Otter Creek if that's of interest.
Is everybody in favor? By consensus, Sandy, I guess we write a letter.
Yes.
I'm sure that she's going to be able to give you an assist with whatever you need to
All right.
compose it.
Would you like a full select board to sign it, or me on behalf of them? Does it matter? I think it's fine if you sign on behalf of the chair, especially if there's a vote. All right.
Great.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for your time today.
Thank you, Will.
Thank you all so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Will.
Good night now.
Did you have a vote, or do you mind if we have a vote? Can I ask for a vote?
Okay, is it okay if you do a bubble?
Yeah.
Do you want me to make a motion?
Yeah.
By consensus, I'm sure.
By consensus?
Yeah. Yeah, we're all set. It's
Okay,
a
okay,
quick
great. Thank you very much.
Good night, thank you.
Good night, thank you. Bye.
You all have the profit and loss or the financial.
I didn't really see anything that stood out.
I assume that being that Julie's left, that we're probably going to be all good with the financials.
Yep.
School district resignation. From what I understand, Maria French is the only person that's expressed interest in serving out the remainder of the term. I believe they have petitioned her, they've gone ahead and taken petitions for the place on the ballot. So basically, this would be just until the March 1st. That was her wish in the beginning, that she'd be allowed to serve out till March 1st and resign effective then. Basically, barring any other applicant, I would say that her being the only one, that she's probably our recommendation.
Yeah, I agree.
By consensus, yes, we recommend Maria.
Okay.
Erica has been the zoning administrator now less than a year. And she is the 3-year term expires in February. The question is, do we wish to reappoint her? Without
Does she
without
want to be
looking back, it was
appointed?
hard to find somebody to take the job, so I can't see. Again, by consensus, yes.
Will she get a review at some
The-
point, Nelson? Will she get a review? I know you did in the past with Jeff.
I don't think she did get a review.
Well, she's, yeah, 'cause when she was appointed, she was
She
only
did?
there. No, she was only appointed a few months when we did the reviews. We usually do them in June.
No,
But we didn't do her, so she had just been appointed, so
Okay.
she could definitely be up for review this.
So we could review her this year? We could review her this June?
Yes.
Okay.
the dedication. I'm not sure how to put a heading on this, whether it's just dedicated to the volunteers of Wallingford or
Yeah.
Yeah.
something to that effect. Yeah. I assume everybody's read it. Are we in agreement with it? Or?
Yeah, I think Sandy did a nice
Okay,
job.
and also the select board report.
She's such a good writer.
Um,
I can tell she used to work for newspapers.
I remember once in high school, Mr. Major, the principal, asked us to grade our own paper. I think that was the hardest time I ever gave myself an A. I felt guilty about it. I think as usual, Sandy has pretty much summed up everything we did. Is there anything anybody else would like to add or change, or are we good with it the way it is?
Looks good,
Sounds good to
Well
us.
written again?
as usual.
Thank you.
Select board's concerns or comments?
My husband mentioned the other day that when he was walking after the storm, that he had trouble crossing the bridge, that the walkway on the bridge across 140 by the tracks was not plowed out, but I'm thinking we were having some issues, so that might explain why it had not been dealt with at that time.
He needs to complain to the fire district, not
Yeah.
the.
Okay,
Yeah, the fire district plows the sidewalk.
I will let him know that, thank you.
They take care of the sidewalks, so.
And the sidewalks are the fire district as well?
Yes.
Thank you.
I was gonna bring up, and I don't know if it's the towns or the school, but the radar sign above the school here
Oh.
doesn't work anymore.
Oh, I hadn't noticed that. When did you notice that, Bruce?
You mean the 25?
Yeah, the one that flashes if you're exceeding the 25 mile.
Oh, that's why it hasn't said anything to me, huh?
Yeah.
I'll speak to the road crew, because it's our sign, it's our sign.
It's our sign.
Yeah, we put it up.
Okay.
I just noticed last week when I went to New Hampshire coming back that,
Okay.
and I had noticed it quite a while before that and I just forgot about it.
First one there is on the tennis court where that. I would just note here, the second one, John Tiffany denial, Narragansett. You do have a letter in here.
Yep,
I think that's pretty much self-explanatory.
yep.
Nice try.
Hopefully we will hear that they're paying it, but Lord only knows. Dan Dugan has already taken care of the candidate forum. Jim Lake did pay for the sand that he got. The whole thing happened was that the sand was not available, and at that ice storm, we felt that it was a one-time thing that he could get a load of sand. ARPA, I believe they've postponed to the 25th.
Right.
Oh, okay. Postponed to the 25th?
Yes.
The letter of support for Teresa. We had a house down on River Street. Basically what had happened was that they had shut the water off, and when the gentleman that closed or shut the water down came out of the house, he noticed there was an elderly lady in there, and she appeared to be not being very well taken care of. Result of the sheriff came down and eventually did make contact, and that the support letter indicates that they couldn't be living in there in the future
Okay.
due to the water being on.
Okay.
Long story short. Don Trudkin, you spoke to him about the stairs here.
Yep, there, it's the wooden stairs over there, that's included in the 2,400.
The stairs there.
The financial office there, they have a formula down there where we get one payment a year, and that's derived by fines that were paid by motorists in the town that were not under town ordinances. Basically, that would be your basic rule violations, those kind of violations. And then they go through that whole process of computing of what we usually get. Wallingford usually looks around about $1,000, so it's pretty much an expected yearly. And we have the draft copy for David Holsley. He does the roadside mowing. I think that was pretty much it.
So on the David Hosley roadside mowing and then the advantage tenants, I just didn't know whether, with the purchasing policy, we get to certain levels where we're supposed to send estimates out, like all that. We've used Mr. Hosley for a number of years, and I don't know if you would still like multiple estimates on roadside mowing. And the same thing with advantage tennis. Do we want to go out to bid, or do we want to just lock that price in with him? We did go out to bid. We did go out to bid on the basketball court, and they were quite a bit.
Yes.
And it's such a specialty thing, you're gonna get such minimal thing.
I was gonna say, the roadside mowing, we've never got anybody in the past other than.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not while I've been on board.
I mean, we
Didn't we used to rent the
we
one?
used to do HP Fairfield,
Yeah.
Oh,
and we got an hourly rate from them. They're close to his hourly rate, but it doesn't include an employee.
Include him, right.
So then we would have to pay one of our people to do the actual
I
mowing.
think we figured out that that was a really good deal.
Yeah,
And this is the last year he's doing it anyway.
yeah,
right?
it is. So after
so,
this
so
year.
I don't think we have to put either out to bid, what do you think? Okay.
Yeah.
I had a question on the grant for the trees. Looks like he's asking for $1,000, but then it said the total was 2,000. Is there like a 50% match on that,
No,
or?
it's 2,000, he's estimating his services, which he's gonna donate, but he's put it in the budget. It's not gonna cost, this isn't gonna cost the town anything.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, I wondered if his time, he was using his time as matching or something.
Yes.
Probably has to do that,
So
Not 100% grant funded.
should thank him for that.
yes, it's even written as an in-kind donation. If you look at that, page 5.
Maybe just express the thing.
Yeah.
The select board thanks for that.
Sounds good to me? Yep.
That was all I had. Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Hi, Nelson's sitting there still thinking about it.